It's Talk Funny, a podcast by Mark Bailey and other comics from all over. We ended up in Japan because we wondered what part of Buddhism allows you to boil an octopus alive. So here in Asia, no fears of being reincarnated as an octopus, I guess. Just saying. The Talk Funny podcast from Nagoyaradio.com and Nagoyacomedy. Here's Mark Bailey.
Here's Mark Bailey.
And welcome back to another edition of Talk Funny. I'm Mark Bailey. We're here again with Steve Howard.
How you doing?
Hey, Happy New Year. How was your New Year's Eve, New Year experience?
Yeah, it was good.
You have a son, and you guys spend time at home. That's something in Japan. It's kind of the reverse of Christmas. At Christmas, here, people like to be with their lovers, and here in Japan, for New Year's, it's pretty much a family affair. And why did you bring up affair, Steve? So, Steve, ask me why I'm learning Vietnamese.
Do you want me to ask you in Vietnamese or?
Yeah, either one. The answer is none of your damn business. All right, so
is that Didi Mao or something?
Yeah. Who was it that had the joke about the ho ho chi minh? Okay, we had a topic about. We've already passed now for Talk Funny. We're in about a year and a half in now of weekly shows, and as far as Nagoyacomedy shows, playing in different cities and primarily in Nagoya, we've reached the 3.5 year mark. We're over it now. And so you had a comment or something about 3 years versus 30-year comics or something like that. What was your question?
Well, I was just thinking it might be interesting to talk about, since I've only been doing this for about 3.5 years and you've been doing it for 30 years plus, maybe we can compare and contrast our feelings about performing and writing and different things.
Okay, well, so how are you different now from the first couple of times that you went on?
Well, definitely... obviously way more confident when I'm on stage, and I starting to get a better handle on reading the audience. So when I tell my punchline, giving the audience a chance to either laugh or not laugh before I go into my next joke, because I think probably the first 6 months, maybe 8 months, I had a tendency to really rush my jokes, and I'd be going into the next joke, and then all of a sudden the audience would start laughing, and then I'd have to stop and wait, and then try to pick up where, basically go back and repeat myself. So my timing has gotten a lot better, definitely.
Yeah, I've mentioned this on the podcast before. But one thing I always try to tell the new comics is you would not believe how much listening is involved when you're doing stand-up. The stand-up guy, it looks like he's up there, with a bunch of stuff to say. He says something, and then he listens to the audience reaction.
Right.
And that kind of affects, it's very organic, because it kind of affects, well, I guess I'm not doing that closer that I was going to do. They didn't even get the taint of the thing that I was alluding to, and this is my big build-up to my closer, and they didn't even get the easy joke. And so they're definitely not going to get the Sigmund Freud leave your id at the door. They're not going to get that one. Because this is, like, as I've said, sometimes after Steve has some really funny jokes, but you have to actually think about them. You have to actually listen to them in the audience. And these people aren't listening, and they're talking, and they're wondering what color the bag was. That's not the point of the story. And so sometimes I've gotten up and said, sorry, I apologize to the audience. Steve was under the impression that this audience reads and writes.
Well, I noticed, like one thing, you and then the other guy, our magician, Magic Joe, we perform with. You guys obviously have the most way more stage time than any of the other comedians, but you guys pretty much own the stage once you get up there. You don't really let the audience set the tone or the mood. But I think. Well, I've noticed with Mike Miller, he's starting to get to that stage as well. I feel like when he gets up there, he really owns the stage. But myself, I haven't quite got there. There's been a few times when the audience was people I knew really well, and then I felt like I could get up there, and I felt a lot more confident. But you and Joe Magic, definitely, when you get on stage, you always seem like you're pretty confident.
Yeah, it's kind of an attitude thing. You have to be not exactly cocky, but you have to basically say, I worked hard to get to this microphone, and you're not going to take it away from me because you didn't prepare on your heckles as much as I prepared against your heckles. Because I'm actually ready for you. And, I like to use an old Letterman phrase. When people aren't getting jokes that they should be getting, I'll say, I'm sorry the audience couldn't be here tonight.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. And Mike does he had a similar line where he would say something like, yeah, they were cold, the officials were cold and aloof and not really there, kind of like tonight's crowd. And you just mildly poke the audience, go, you guys have a job to do too. You're supposed to listen and vote with your feet or with your hands. You let us know, but don't just interject. And I had Something that you mentioned a couple of podcasts ago, which is I'm not sure how I feel about it, but it's something that I've been thinking about a lot recently. I've mentioned to you guys this idea, as you mentioned, we don't have a green room in a lot of these places as they do in the States. So there's no place. A green room is basically you hang out with comics, and we're all kind of meditating, and we're in our zone, and we're getting ready to go on. And so if I say something to Steve, it's probably going to be something funny. I'm not going to take him out of his zone. And, we're imbibing and we're relaxing. But to me, it's important that I'm not doing meet and greets because I get this, could be my imagination, but I've had a few comments from people before or after, especially after when I do a set, and I sit back down. We're all sitting in the audience, and I have some guy I don't even know, or maybe he was an open micer. He'll go, "Hey, the middle part, that was really good." Like, thanks, Rabbi. Who asked you? It's like, if I want that advice, I'll get that advice from, Tony Hinchcliffe or Gilbert Gottfried. I'll get advice from real comics. Okay, I know it sounds horrible to the audience, but the thing of meet and greet is basically where you hang out afterwards. Maybe you sign books or you sign CDs or you sell your stuff. Steve Hofstetter is very good at that. On stage, you don't dare heckle him, but he said, "I'll take any questions you have off stage while I'm selling you CDs." And he'll sell you like 3 of his CDs for 1,000 yen or something. Last time when he was in Osaka, it's a great deal, and you can talk to him. But you're not going to mess up his set. He's done his set, and now he's going to talk to you. But a lot of comedians, a lot of comedians will not do meet and greets. Larry David never did it. Louis C.K. is really not that fond of it. Yeah. Seinfeld hates it. Bill Burr's not really into it. I'm trying to think of someone who really was good at it. Rodney Dangerfield was horrible at it. A lot of comics are just kind of insular.
Yeah.
And I can't think of anyone who's actually pretty friendly. I imagine Joe Rogan would be pretty friendly if you came up to him.
Well, he's mentioned it before, and he says he does it because he feels like since the people paid to come see him and stuff. But he doesn't like it very much either. And the one he mentioned now is the selfies.
Oh,
because he said it's just I'm going to be here for 2 hours standing in line, and if somebody wants to take a selfie, that's an extra 3 to 5 minutes.
Right.
And he usually just says no for those, but he said he'll do meet and greets and meet the audience after his shows, but he doesn't really like it all that much.
Louis C.K. had a great story about that. I think it was him, and he said one time, he had just done a set. He's walking down the street, and these 2 girls, he thought they had come from the show. Do you have time to take a picture? And he goes, "I'm sorry, I don't do that. I don't do that. But I will talk to you. Hi, my name's Louis. What's yours?" And they're like, "Cheryl," and I'm Lisa. And they're looking at him strange, and he walked away, and he looked behind him, and they had gotten somebody else. They just wanted someone to take a picture of them. They had no idea who he was. And then there's a British comedian who has a similar story where he said, he goes, "People are lining up, and they're just taking pictures of me, and they're not even asking, and they didn't even, I don't even get any notice." And they're walking up, and he goes up, after about the 8th time, I shouted out, "Hey, I'm a person too. I have opinions and thoughts and feelings too. Why are you just walking up and doing this?" And then one of the cleaning guys said, "You're standing in front of the Pokemon statue." They had the picture. They had no idea who he was. But my beef with I tend to not. Up until now, we've been doing meet and greets because it's impossible not to. We're in a small club, and a lot of us have to collect tickets, and that's what was really starting to bother me. There was a show in another city, not Nagoya, and it was a small crowd, and I ended up having to literally beg the audience members who had snuck in to pay for the show. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to be, I headline. I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to be, haggling for money. And it was just kind of a lack of respect. Then we had another show where we had open mic. You had your chance to do it, and maybe 1 or 2 people went up. After the show, someone had left the mic on. I'm going to watch this from now on, but the mic was still on with the mixer. So this one of the audience members walks up and grabs the mic. I'm trying to get everyone cleared out. The owner wants everyone out. We want people to it's closing time, basically. Yeah. We want people to catch their trains, and the owner doesn't even live in the city, so he has to get back to another city, and he's trying to clean up and get things out. This guy this audience member walks up and grabs the mic. I'm like, hey, no. I mean, I know it sounds rude, but you didn't book this. This was our show. Kind of like if you walk up and start playing Jimmy Page's guitar. Yeah. It's a little bit of respect, It's like, there was open mic. That's the time for anybody from the general audience to get up and do it. Yeah. But you just walk up and start using the mic. This is technically our show. I have no idea what you're going to do. I have no idea if you're going to do a Richard Spencer rant. I have no idea what you're doing, and I don't endorse this, and this is our show. You could even get electrocuted with a microphone, and it happened during our show. But our show is ending. We need to wrap this up. So I took the mic and I took it off of its cord and hit it, and then we left. But the guy's like, why can't I do it? I'm like, yeah, that's called open mic. That was 2 hours ago. So, no, it looks easy, and people have been drinking. So that's, for me, that's kind of the meet and greet kind of thing. I kind of think that we need a little bit of separation between the audience, not in a snobby kind of way.
Yeah.
People have a way to get in touch with us. We always announce it, like the Talk Funny podcast, assportjapan@yahoo.com. You can always email us, and there's all of these podcast outlets have ways that you can comment, but when we're in such a small area at the club, and people just they feel like they can walk up and go, yeah, you were funnier last time, Steve.
Yeah, well, I was going to mention that one of the reasons why I don't really take the audience critique very seriously is because even as a comic, I know the only thing I'm going to remember of another comedian's routine is the part where I laughed the most. So, I'm up there for 10 minutes. The person critiquing me, the audience member critiquing me, probably only remembers about 30 seconds of my entire set. So why should I really take their opinion all that seriously?
Yeah, I think one time I had a bit about how my wife misuses even Japanese words, even though she's Japanese, and she'll ask me stupid questions, which is one of my favorite topics, and I drink some water, and she'll say, "Mizu oishii desu ka?" It's water. Tastes like water. If you do the job right, it tastes like water. Water doesn't have a taste. When something has a weakened taste, we say it's watery, because it tastes like water, which doesn't have a taste. And so later, and I got some laughs, and then later one of the audience members said, you're not the first one to think of that. I always thought that water has no taste. I'm like, yeah, do you have a joke about it? No. Well, that's the difference. I wrote a joke about it. It's like, you're not the first one to think about airline food. Oh, I'm not? Well, I guess I'll just not be a comedian anymore. It's not the premise. We're all basically miserable. I'll speak for you, Steve. We're all miserable married guys living in not even the most important city in Japan. And so we're all going to have pretty similar premises,
right?
Married life, and we all live in the same area, so we're going to have the same train stories. It's what you do with it. You could do a funny joke about any premise. So the premise, we're going to have similar premises. What we do with it is the punchline, or where we take it. So comics are like this. I think it was it Anthony? I don't want to describe. It was either Jeselnik or Peter Tosh. Not Peter Tosh. Hey man.
Legalize it.
Daniel Tosh. One of those guys, and they were getting screamed at because they used one of the premises was rape. Not making fun of it, but anyway, they were talking about it, and they got into a lot of hot water with, maybe it was Louis C.K. who commented on this. Yeah, it was Louis C.K. He commented on this other comedian getting in trouble, and he said, well, comedians can't take criticism, and feminists can't take a joke, so I'm not surprised this happened. And I'll take the first part. Comedians really can't take criticism. When you're coming up in open mic, you need to be open to criticism, but at a certain point, you kind of plateau, and you kind of say, I know how to get laughs now. Yeah. I know what my comic voice is. So if you're seeing me for the first time, and you come up and give me some advice about a joke, I probably have a lot of reasons I did that joke, and there was a way that I did that, and you don't know this because you're not a comic. And I think a lot of people think you just get up and just say what comes into your mind.
Yeah.
And that's the furthest thing from comedy. That's the easiest way to not be funny. It'll come to me when I get up there.
Right.
So I think we've beaten this dead horse enough, and we'll have Steve back next week. It's been Talk Funny. Thanks for coming, Steve.
Yep, thanks a lot.
We'll talk to you next week.